Hi boys and girls, how are you today? Ready for another story? Kind of went looking for something that was a little funny, a little rascally, a little off the beaten path, and I found one I think you're going to get a kind of a kick out of. It's about a rascal rat, okay? Well, we'll see what you think. It's called Nosey Mrs. Rat. The author is Jeffrey Allen, and the illustrator is James Marshall. James Marshall has done a lot of illustrations of books that I love. Here's a cool thing about this book, though. It's signed by the illustrator. This is a book to a classroom teacher that he visited, and I got to buy it, which I think is pretty cool. Okay. Nosey Mrs. Rat. The neighborhood. You see Mrs. Rat? You see her? There she is, looking out her window. Do you know what it means to be nosy? You're kind of paying attention to what everyone else is doing. Let's see what happens. Mrs. Davis felt peculiar as she took her morning bath. I feel like I'm being watched, she said to herself. And she was being watched. By Shirley Rat, the nosiest person in town. I see you're using lilac bubble bath, said Shirley. I personally prefer rose. Mrs. Davis pulled down the shade. I love to know what's going on, said Shirley. I don't get paid for it. It's my hobby. And Shirley's hobby kept her very busy. Reading other people's mail took half the morning. You learned such interesting things, said Shirley. Listening in on private telephone conversations, Shirley sometimes forgot to fix lunch for her kids. First things first, said Shirley. Oh my goodness. That's not good. In the afternoon, Shirley did lots of snoopy things, like poking around in other people's shopping carts. Can you really afford this expensive brand? She said to Mrs. Butler. Look at Mrs. Butler's face. Do you think she likes what Shirley's doing? And at night, while people were watching television, Shirley Rat was watching them. There's a more interesting program on Channel 5, said Shirley. Sometimes Shirley wore a disguise. I can find out more if people don't recognize me, she said. There's that nosy Shirley Rat, whispered one of her neighbors. Most folks had gotten used to Shirley's little ways. There's one in every town, they said, but not everyone was so understanding. You see Shirley? Here she is. She's not very well disguised, is she? I hate that Mrs. Rat, said Brewster Blackstone. Hate's a pretty strong word, isn't it? It's not my favorite. She makes my life miserable. Brewster Blackstone couldn't get away with a thing. Shouldn't you be in school, said Shirley, just when Brewster and his gang thought they were safe. Let's see what she's on. Stilts. I'm so sorry to hear Brewster flunked history, said Shirley to Mr. Blackstone. He did? Said Brewster's dad. That's the first I've heard of it. Brewster Blackstone was grounded for a whole week, and he had plenty of time to think. This calls for a creative solution, said Brewster. One afternoon, while Shirley Rat was engaged in her favorite activity, something attracted her attention. Said Shirley. What she sees. The postman had just delivered a large and interesting package to Brewster. Ooh, said Shirley. I wonder what's inside. What do you think's inside? Do you have any ideas? Brewster dear, said Shirley in her sweetest voice, what is in that large and interesting package the postman just delivered? None of your beeswax, said Brewster. And he hung up. How rude, said Shirley. I'll find out what's in that package if it's the last thing I do. Who's being rude? I think Mrs. Rat is. Using her special sticky shoes, Shirley scaled the Blackstones' house to get a look in Brewster's window, but Brewster had pulled down the shade. Next, Shirley sifted through the Blackstones' garbage. You never know what clues you'll find, she said, but the Blackstones' garbage gave Shirley no clues. Shirley tried to disguise herself to get inside the Brewster's home. I'm the roach patrol, said Shirley. I know who you are, said Mrs. Blackstone. At home, Shirley had trouble concentrating. That package is really none of your business, said her husband. But he wasn't heard. Look what she does. She's so busy wondering. She drops breakfast. Shirley went to the park to sit and think. Suddenly, she spotted a small envelope marked Confidential. Do not open. Oh, goody, said Shirley. The card read, Sneak preview, invitation only, Brewster Blackstone's backyard at 8 o'clock. I love sneak previews, said Shirley. At Brewster's, Shirley took a front row seat. There she is. The Nosey Neighbor, directed by Brewster Blackstone. The film began. Oh my, said Shirley. There is nothing worse than a nosy neighbor. Suddenly, for everyone to see, there was Shirley Rat up to her old tricks, snooping shamelessly. The audience began to laugh out loud. What's so funny, said Shirley. And when the film showed Shirley trying different ways to peek into Brewster's window, someone called out, That's our Nosey Mrs. Rat. Nosey, said Shirley. Nosey? Soon the audience was in hysterics. They laughed so hard they fell out of their seats. Shirley made a quick exit. I'm so humiliated, she said. At home, Shirley went straight to bed. I'll never snoop again, she said. There, said her husband. Perhaps you can save snooping for special occasions. Oh, no, said Shirley. I'm finished with all that. Well, you have a nice rest, dear, said Mr. Rat, and he gently closed the door. You think she's going to be able to stop snooping? Said Shirley. Well, perhaps for special occasions. The end. Do you think she's going to be able to keep from snooping? You do? I wonder. All right. Well, till the next time. Keep reading.